Every woman dreams of being in a great relationship. We all want closeness and connection. We want to feel chosen and safe and understood. But sometimes the very things that we do to protect ourselves are the very things that cause a man to shut down. Now, they do this out of protection because they don't feel safe anymore. They don't feel like they can be emotionally open. And once that emotional safety is gone for a man, it is super, super hard to get it back. And if you've ever been with a man who has retreated in the proverbial turtle shell, it is a more painful existence than words can express. So, in this lesson, we're going to take a look at the 10 behaviors that slowly push men away so that you can protect your relationship from the very start. We want to keep your man feeling emotionally safe with you because that's when you're going to get the best of him. So, let's dive into number one. Mistake number one is withdrawing instead of expressing. Here's the thing, when you feel unseen or you're disappointed or maybe even angry, instead of saying, that hurt me, instead you show it by shutting down. You don't use your big girl words. Instead, you punish him with silence and you distance yourself from him, you pull away emotionally, and sometimes you even pull away physically. Let me give you an example. Refusing to touch him when you normally would, refusing to kiss him because you guys have had a disagreement, saying things like, I'm fine, when clearly you're upset, or making him have to earn his way back in. Even worse, holding on sex just because you're mad, not because you're not in the mood for sex, but because you want to punish him. Another example would be going silent instead of saying what you need. If you emotionally punish a man when you get upset, he's going to no longer feel safe with you. And he's going to stop opening up because he's going to realize that you don't just feel your emotions, you weaponize them. When you're hurt, you want to hurt him too. So think about it this way. If every time you made a mistake, he refused to talk to you for hours or days on end, or stop being chivalrous just to teach you a lesson, how would that feel? Would you feel safe with him? No, you'd be walking on eggshells. And I want to say this, it's okay to take space to cool off. It's even okay to not feel like being affectionate right away. But ask yourself honestly, am I pulling away to heal, or am I doing this to punish him? So instead of punishing him with silence or distance, try saying something like, I am still feeling hurt and I need a little time to process, and I'll come back when I feel calmer. And then actually go take time to calm down. And when you come back, you're in a good space. Or you could say something like, it's hard for me to be affectionate right now because I still feel a little tender. The feelings are a little raw. Can we talk through it first? But you see here, your goal is to try to get through. Another example of what you could say, I want to be close again, but I need to feel understood first. Can we talk? The idea is solve the thing that is bothering you. Don't just withdraw. Express. That is what emotional maturity looks like. That's what makes a man feel safe to try again, even after he messes up. And if you feel uncomfortable emotions, you need to express them. Because the minute you start to make your feelings or use your feelings rather to make him pay is the minute he's going to stop feeling safe enough to give you his heart. All right, let's move on to number two. Mistake number two is making vulnerability unsafe. Oh, this is a really, really, really bad one. If I was going to rank them, this one might be at the very top, or at least towards the top. As women, we always say things like, I really want a man to be vulnerable. We want him to open up, talk about his fears, share what's really on his heart, cry if he needs to, just be real with us. But if we're not careful, we can be the very reason that he doesn't want to open up. If he gets vulnerable once, even once, and it backfires, trust me, he will never make that mistake again. So let's talk about what backfiring looks like. It could be rolling your eyes at him, cutting him off mid-sentence. Oh my God, when someone's being vulnerable and they get cut off, or using what he shared with you privately in an argument later, or you tell your mom or your friends what he said without his permission. That's hard to come back from. Or you mock him. You say stuff like, oh, you're just being sensitive. You're being a baby, or man up. Never, 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 never do that. Another example, you shut down emotionally because his emotions feel uncomfortable to you. So a guy might be sharing something raw or something that makes him feel weak. And if your reaction is perceived as being cold or sharp or unsafe, he is going to close the door out of protection. He's going to do it quietly and without warning, and sometimes, a lot of times, permanently. But I want you to think about it from the man's side. Most of them have been taught that emotions are weakness. Talking about feelings make them look soft, and they should just handle everything on their own. So if he takes what feels like a risk to him and he opens up and you don't handle that with care, it doesn't just hurt him, it confirms his worst fear. And he'll say, this is why I don't talk about stuff. Remember this: if a man learns it's not safe to open up with you, he will stop trying. Let's move on to mistake number 3: constant criticism. Now, sometimes we think we're being helpful when really we're just being critical. We might have said it with love, and we might say it because we want more from the relationship and we think he can do better. But if he is hearing constant complaints, if every interaction feels like a correction or a critique, he's going to start feeling like he can't win with you. And when a man feels like he's failing, you're not going to get more effort, you're going to get less. So, constant criticism would sound something like, why do you always say it like that? You didn't even think to ask me. You never listen. We should always avoid using absolutes like you never, you always, right? Very discouraging. You forgot again. Can you please just do it the way I asked? Now, even if you don't say it with a harsh tone, the message that he's receiving is, you are not good enough. You keep messing up. I'm not happy with you. And when that message gets repeated too often, he's going to disconnect. Now, what you might not realize is most men deeply want to be your hero. They want to be the one to make you happy. They want to feel like they're winning in the relationship. But if you're always pointing out what's missing and never what's working, he starts to feel like, well, why try? I'll never get it right anyway. So let's compare nagging versus requesting. Okay. And we're going to pause here for a second because tone really matters when it comes to this. Nagging is when you bring up the same issue repeatedly, but with frustration or sarcasm. When you request something is when you calmly ask for a need to be met and you use softness and clarity. So let me give examples. Nagging would be, how many times do I have to tell you? And just requesting would be, hey, babe, would you mind doing this for me when you get a chance? Instead of saying, you never help unless I nag, try saying, I feel really supported when you jump in without me asking. You're affirming the positives. Instead of saying, you forgot again, typical, try saying, could we try putting a reminder in your phone for next time? You see the difference? One makes him want to run, and the other makes him want to rise. Now, keep this in mind: criticism kills connection, but your appreciation builds it up. And if you want more from your man, try leading with what he's doing right. That encourages him to keep showing up stronger. When he feels like everything he does is wrong, he's going to stop showing up. All right, number 4, always being right. If he can't mess up, he won't feel like he can open up. So let's be honest. Being right, it feels good. But in a relationship, if you always have to be right, that means that someone always has to be wrong. And if that someone is always him over and over and over, he'll stop opening and he'll stop trying. So, what does always being right look like? You interrupt him to correct the stories that he tells. You nitpick his logic or his wording. You bring up receipts or prove your point after the fight should be over. You can't admit that you're wrong. You have to win even in small disagreements. Now, you might not even realize you're doing it, but you might catch yourself saying things like, that's not how it happened. You just don't get it. I didn't do anything wrong. You're just being sensitive. Well, if you would just listen, when everything turns into a debate or you always feel like you have to defend yourself, the relationship is going to start to feel like a competition and not a connection. He's going to think things like, there's no point in explaining. She's just going to shut it down anyway. Or she always twists things to make herself look right. Or I can't even be honest without it turning into a fight. She never admits when she's wrong, so why should I? And eventually he's going to check out. And it's not because he doesn't care about the relationship, but it's going to feel exhausting to feel like the villain all the time. Real love requires humility, and it's not about keeping score. It's not about who wins the argument. It's about emotional safety. Can he be human around you? Can he mess up and still feel loved? Can he tell you something hard without being shut down? Sometimes the most powerful thing you could say is, "You're right. I didn't handle that well." Or, "I see your side now." Or, "I'm sorry for the way I came at you." That doesn't make you weak. It makes you a safe place to land. If you always need to be right, you'll eventually end up alone. And if he feels like he can't mess up, he won't feel like he can open up. But if you can soften, if you can be real instead of rigid all the time, you're going to create the kind of emotional space where love actually grows. All right. Number 5, rejecting his effort when not enough becomes your default response to everything he gives. Let's talk about a way that women can block emotional intimacy, even when a guy is trying. It happens when you're so focused on what's missing from the relationship, you can't even see what's already there. So let's say your guy does something really thoughtful, and instead of receiving it with gratitude, you critique it. He puts in effort, and instead of softening, you raise the bar even higher. No, thank you. No, I noticed. Just another comment about how it could have been better. That's not high standards. That's actually entitlement. So here's what it can look like. Let's say he brings you food, and the first thing you say is, why didn't you ask what I wanted? He plans something and you say, we've done that before. Can't you be more creative? He cleans up the kitchen and you say, but you didn't wipe the counters right. Or he compliments you and then you just brush it off like it's nothing. Little by little, this is going to create a dynamic where he's going to stop trying because nothing ever lands with you. He's going to feel this even though he won't say it to you. He's going to say, why do I even try? It's like everything I do is wrong unless it's done her exact way. She doesn't appreciate anything unless it's big and perfect. Feels like I'm always being graded, not loved. And here's the hard part. Sometimes the guy was actually trying to bless you. He wasn't looking for a medal. He just wanted to do something kind. And when you act like it's not enough, he gets the message loud and clear. You don't really value me. You just value what I can do for you. So what's happening subconsciously? This kind of energy often comes from an inner belief in you that says, if he loves me, he should know what I want. He should do more. He should be more. But here's the truth. When you're constantly rejecting his effort, it comes off as emotional greed. And entitlement doesn't just show up in your tone or your reactions. It can also show up in the way you spend his money. If you're buying what you want without checking in, or expecting him to cover everything without showing gratitude, or acting like his hard work is just something he's just supposed to do. If you stop seeing his generosity as a gift and start seeing it as a given, that's where it's a problem. No one wants to give to someone who feels like they're owed. So let's flip the script. Gratitude invites more, critique shuts it down. That doesn't mean you have to accept crumbs. It just means notice the loaf while it's still rising. So try saying something like, thank you for doing that. It made me feel cared for. Or I really appreciate that effort. You didn't have to, but you did. I'm grateful for how you showed up, even in the small things. And if you truly need more, ask for it from a place of softness and not scorekeeping. Here's the final thought. Men don't need you to praise every single thing they do, but if you never acknowledge their effort, they're going to stop giving it. So don't let your desire for more keep you from honoring what's already being offered. Don't let your desire hold you back. All right, number 6, letting yourself go. This is a common mistake. Now, you used to try, right? Let's say hypothetically in this relationship, used to try, but now not so much. And this isn't about being a size 2 or getting dolled up every day. It's just about effort, showing up for yourself and for him. Because, like it or not, men are visual. They're wired to be drawn to what they see. And no, this doesn't mean that your worth is based on your looks, but it does mean that your physical presence carries energy. So when you stop caring, that energy fades. So, what does letting yourself go look like? Wearing the same baggy clothes every day, even outside the house. Never doing your hair or putting any thought into how you look. Always saying, well, he should love me how I am, but not making any effort to even feel attractive. Not showering regularly, not keeping your nails and your toes done, or letting your hygiene slide. If you treat physical intimacy like a chore and you never initiate, whew, this is not about perfection. It's about presence. It's about saying, I still care enough to show up for myself and for you. So, what he's going to feel inside but not say out loud, well, she used to take pride in how she looks. Now it feels like I don't matter. Or she doesn't even try anymore. It's like she gave up on herself and us. But I don't want to say anything because I don't want to hurt her feelings. She still wants affection and desire, but I'm not feeling drawn in like I used to. Now, these thoughts may never come out of his mouth, but they are going to show up in his distance or his lack of physical affection or even his eyes when you walk past him. So, what this really is about, letting yourself go physically often starts when you're emotionally tired. Maybe you don't even feel desired. Maybe you've been stressed or burned out or ignored. Maybe you started to believe, like, what's the point? But the truth is, your body is still part of the relationship. Your effort is still part of the experience. And taking care of yourself is not just about how he sees you, it's about how you feel when you walk into a room. So, showing up looks like taking regular showers, moisturizing your body, putting on perfume, putting on clothes that make you feel good. Even around the house, get yourself some cute sets. Refreshing your hairstyle or makeup once in a while if you enjoy it. Caring for your nails, your skin, wearing something pretty, even if no one else sees it but him. Carrying yourself like you're still worth being pursued because you are. You don't need a new body, you just need a renewed mindset. So I'm going to leave you with this on this one. Your partner doesn't need you to look like a movie star, but he does want to feel like you want to still be seen. Effort is attractive. It's not about impressing him. It's about honoring yourself. And when you feel good in your body, your energy shifts. And that's what he's going to notice most. All right, on to number 7. Mistake number 7 is creating drama over the wrong things. Let's talk about something that kills connection fast. It's when you waste emotional energy on things that don't really matter. Now, don't get me wrong. Your feelings are certainly valid. Your standards are important. And of course, your voice should be heard. But if you're constantly nitpicking, you're always monitoring, you're overanalyzing every move he makes, you are not building connection, my friend. You are building distance. So, what can this look like? Creating drama. You always need a play-by-play with what he's doing. You misinterpret his silence. Sometimes he's not thinking about nothing. Constantly questioning his intentions, always assuming he has bad intentions. Creating meaning out of nothing. Sometimes you're creating conversations or conflicts about something that could have just been a quick conversation. Maybe you need to control every little detail, how he talks, how he dresses, how he spends his time. But the truth is, you only have so much emotional energy. And if you waste it on the small stuff, you're going to have nothing left for the real stuff. So what he's going to feel like is, man, I can't breathe without being questioned. She's always upset about something. I try to keep the peace, but it is never enough. This feels more like a job than a relationship. And eventually he's going to pull away because it's going to feel safer than being under constant emotional fire. So, what's really going on behind the scenes with you? A lot of times, this kind of drama comes from anxiety or emotional insecurity. When you don't feel grounded in the relationship, you're going to be scanning always for signs of danger, even when there are none. Ask me how I know. You're going to start needing control to feel safe, but control creates tension, not closeness. So a better approach is this. Before you're reacting, right, impulsively, pause and ask yourself these questions. Is this really about him, or is this my fear talking? Will this matter in a week? Am I speaking from a place of clarity or emotion? So instead, try saying something like this. I've noticed myself feeling a little off. Can we talk it through? Or I don't want to make this a thing if it's not. Can I check in with you about something? Or I'm learning to pick my battles and I want to handle this with love. That kind of emotional maturity is magnetic and it builds trust and it makes him feel safe enough to stay close. All right, I'm going to give you a couple of tips. First things first, try to do a ratio of 3 compliments for every complaint. So if you're going to complain, make sure you've given him 3 compliments. And don't try to bring up complaints right away. As they come up, there's no need to speak to him unless it's obviously very time sensitive. You don't want to be peppering him throughout the day with your various frustrations. So write them down. And if after a couple of days You've cooled off, you look at the list, and you still are mad about it, or they're still a big deal to you, then bring them up. But make sure you ask him first if it's a good time to talk. When is it good for you? Now, when you are talking about it, really try to minimize your words. Get straight to the point. Give really bite-sized pieces. Men have very short focus when it's not something they're interested in. And you also don't want to make him feel like he's being chastised. Try to say things in a gentle way. And the way you do that is you use I statements. If you say, you're doing this, it's really easy to feel defensive versus if you say, this is what I felt. I would really like, this would make me feel really good if you did this. When you, when you do this for me, it makes me really feel cared for. So you want to try to use I statements and talk about your feelings versus what he's doing specifically. You want to give him action items, okay? Men are very goal-oriented, all right? Give him what he needs. Give clear and concise instructions. So you could say, it really makes me feel good when you let me know in advance when you made plans, for example, right? So you could say, could you please give me a heads up when you decide to commit us to something? Don't expect him to be intuitive like we are. As girls, we pick up on things quickly. He can't read your mind, okay? Be very concise. Give him the problem, then outline the solution, and then you could ask for his input. Does this work for you? Does this make sense or whatever? But you have to be very clear on how to please you. And if he says, what's wrong, for example, don't say nothing. You want to express what it is, get it out there. And if you've asked him to do something that there's a deadline for, want to give a deadline, say, hey, do you think you could do this by Friday? If he says yes, don't mention it until Friday has passed. You say, hey, I know we talked about getting this on Friday, but it's still there. Otherwise, don't bring it up again. Have him commit to that time. So here's a final thought. You don't have to ignore your feelings, but every feeling does not need to become a fight. Save your fire for what actually matters, and the rest, let it go with grace. All right, next up, mistake number 8 is smothering. You don't give this guy space. Even when a man loves you, he still needs space. And that doesn't mean he's pulling away. It doesn't even mean that he's losing interest or hiding something. It just means he's human. And when you don't understand that and you start clinging and hovering and needing constant contact, it's going to be a problem. All right. So what does that look like? Double texting when he hasn't replied fast enough, in your opinion. Wanting to talk all day, every day. You take his need for quiet time personally. Maybe he says, you know what? I really just need some time, and he wants to go shoot hoops or go to the gym or hang out with his friends or just be at his house playing video games, right? You don't want to take it personally. Getting upset when he wants a solo night or time with his friends kind of goes hand in hand. Needing reassurance constantly, asking him, do you still like me? Are we good? You might think that it's showing love. You might think, oh, I'm just trying to stay connected. But for him, it feels like pressure. And this is what's happening behind the scenes with us. When we start to feel anxious, we reach out. We want to be reassured. We want to be chosen again and again and again. But here's the thing. Constant contact doesn't build connection. It actually stifles it. They say absence makes the heart grow fonder. So the healthiest relationships have a natural rhythm, closeness and then space, closeness and space. That's not rejection. That's balance. So he won't say this, but he's going to feel like, I can't breathe. I need to think, but I need time to do it without being guilted for it. She takes everything personally. So when a guy starts to feel that way, he doesn't just pull back to think, he pulls back to protect himself. So instead of texting to soothe your anxiety, just pause and ground yourself first and ask yourself questions like, am I okay? Even if he's quiet right now? Or do I trust the connection? Or am I trying to control it? What would I be doing right now if I felt totally secure? Give him room to miss you. Give yourself room to breathe. That space is what keeps the desire alive. And here's a final thought for number 8. Don't chase connection so hard that you accidentally crush it. Let him come towards you. And trust, if it's real, he will. All right, next up is number 9, poor boundaries with other men. Oh, this is a big mistake. And a lot of women make this not because they're trying to be flirty or because they want attention. They just simply don't realize what poor boundaries look like. And in their mind, they're just being friendly or nice. But from the outside, men see things very differently. And even if a woman's heart is in the right place, A lack of uh, clear boundaries with other men can make her guy feel disrespected and therefore unsafe. And no one wants to feel unsafe. So, what do poor boundaries look like? Texting other men casually just to chat, accepting one-on-one invites from guy coworkers or friends, maybe trying to go grab something to eat or just wanting to hang out. Confiding in another man about your feelings or your relationship. This is a big no-no. Believe it or not, even smiling warmly at a man. You've ever heard guys say, why are you smiling on his face, right? Or laughing at his jokes can actually come across as disrespectful. Complimenting a man is a huge no-no also. Letting a man pay for something or help you out regularly. Okay, maybe he's like offering to let you use his truck to help you move or what have you. Taking gifts, doing favors back and forth, or playing along when there are inappropriate jokes or there's overly familiar banter. Okay, so you might be saying, oh, he's just a friend, but your guy is clearly uncomfortable. And even though you're not crossing a physical line, you're not protecting the emotional ones. In a man's world, loyalty isn't just about who you sleep with, it's about who you make feel special. And he knows what makes men feel special, even if you're innocently doing something. So, what he's going to feel, but probably not say, is, I would never do that with another woman. Why is she acting so casual about this? She says she loves me, but feels like she's still emotionally available to other men. And this makes me question if I can trust your judgment. She's saying I'm overreacting, but it doesn't feel good. Now, it's not about a guy trying to control you, it's about him trying to feel safe emotionally. And when he sees you giving your warmth and your laughter and your awesome feminineness to another man, it doesn't matter if you mean it innocently, he still feels the breach. So, why does this happen? Most of us were raised to be polite, smile, be warm, be approachable, be likable. And you might be feeling like you're genuinely doing nothing wrong, you're just being nice. But here's the truth, other men don't see it as nice. They see it as an opening, a signal, an invitation, even if you didn't mean it that way. And your man sees it too because he's a guy. So healthy boundaries sound like, thank you for offering, but I'd rather not meet up one-on-one. Or let me check with my guy before I give you the okay on that. Or I appreciate the compliment, but I'm taken. Hey, I'm in a relationship. Let's keep things respectful. Boundaries don't mean that you have to be stiff or unfriendly. They just mean that you know who you belong to and you move like it. So the final thought for number 9, your man shouldn't have to wonder if other men feel emotionally welcome in your space. Being loyal with your body is one thing, but being loyal with your energy is what really builds trust. You don't have to be flirty to cross a line. Sometimes all it takes is being unaware. But now that you're aware, you can move differently with love and with clarity and with honor. All right, last we have number 10, ignoring his repair attempts. When he's trying to make it right, don't shut the door. Think about this. How do you respond when he tries to fix things? Not once he gets it perfectly or says it exactly how you want it, but just when he tries. Because here's the thing, men don't always know how to repair conflict. They weren't taught how to process emotions, how to handle tension, or how to walk through hard conversations with grace. Sometimes they're like a bull in the china shop. But when he does reach out with words or touch or humor or just small efforts to reconnect, and you reject those attempts, it doesn't just hurt his ego, it actually hurts his heart. And if that happens too often, he'll stop trying altogether. So let's look at what ignoring repair looks like. Refusing to talk to him even after he apologizes. Saying, it's too late, I don't care anymore, when he does try. Or punishing him with silence after he brings something up. Withholding affection when clearly he's remorseful, or telling him that's not good enough every time he tries to repair. Saying, no, it's too late, gives him the wrong message. And I'm not saying you should accept half-hearted apologies or pretend that everything's okay when it's not. But what I am saying is this, if every time he tries to clean up the mess he made, you slam the door in his face, eventually he's going to stop knocking. So behind the scenes, what's really happening? Sometimes as women, we're waiting for this perfect apology, the one with the exact words and the emotional tone that they imagined. But when it doesn't come out that way, they just write it off completely. And here's the thing, men often repair with their actions, not long speeches. He might do something like touch your shoulder, or bring you food, or do something thoughtful and say, "Are you okay?" instead of "I'm sorry." And it's not always that deep, but it is real. And if you miss it, you miss a chance to reconnect. So, a better way to respond if he's trying, even awkwardly, meet him with openness. You could say something like, "I appreciate you reaching out. I am still upset, but I'm glad that you care." Or, "Thank you for doing that. It means something." Or, "I see the effort and I want us to get back on the same page." See, you're not excusing his behavior, but you're staying connected through it. And that's what keeps emotional intimacy alive. Here's my last thought. You don't need a perfect apology to start softening. If he's showing up with effort, even clumsy effort, do not punish it. Honor the attempt, lean into repair. That's where love grows stronger. Whew. Okay. That was a lot, but so necessary. Because here's the truth, you can't build real intimacy without emotional safety. And sometimes we don't realize how our habits, our tone, or our reactions are quietly pushing our man away. This lesson isn't about blame, it's about awareness because when you know better, you move better. Now that we've looked at what blocks connection, let's shift the focus. In the next lesson, we're going to talk about him, specifically how to recognize if a man is actually peaceful to live with. Because it doesn't matter how attractive or charming he is, if your home life feels like a battlefield, the relationship won't last. So, when you're ready, head to lesson 8.1, 10 traits that make a man peaceful to live with. This is where your discernment sharpens. Let's dive in.